inside these games we play, does losing or winning mean anything? The sun shines today, God is in the garden.
All right. Taking another drive. I realized in my last video that I forgot all the important stuff. Honestly, it's up to you to sort through it and see what it actually means for you. At least I can do is tell you what it meant for me and how it led me to this new record and how it's changed my perspective on life. And I spend hours contemplating this stuff just because I enjoy it. So I don't really expect a lot of people to do that. Maybe that's just my thing. But I at least want to share the insights that I had after that initial understanding. I'm like, you got to watch the last video for this to make any sense. So I need to recap it all, but basically it is that our survival drive is what motivates all our behavior. Every single action that we take in our lives is motivated by our survival drive. And you can sit and think about that for hours. And I haven't been able to come up with any action in my life or any action from anyone else that doesn't have to do with survival, or even recreation is part of our survival because we want to recoup and survive better. So the conclusion I came to from that understanding is that we all need a survival strategy. So we're all born into this world and we all find our own survival strategies. And the point of this whole understanding is that, yeah, that's fine. You can have a survival strategy, but if it's unconscious, we tend to just, go to the lowest common denominator. And it's not an excuse to have, horrible behavior in life. It's just an understanding that helps you to, it does help you to feel better about your behavior, because a lot of your behaviors are manipulative, and, we do all sorts of things when we're younger and, all through life to survive, and they're unconscious behaviors. And once you start to notice them, you kind of feel shitty about yourself. So it's just to make you realize that it's a natural, primal part of your evolution. And that's one point I was trying to make with the lizard on the wall on the last video, is that just look at it scientifically, that if you think about it scientifically, look at the way our brains evolved. We've got the amygdala, which is the first part of the brain. It's at the very center, and that's the lizard brain you always hear about, and it's fight or flight, like I was talking about. So in those days, when you're on the high Sierra, you're basically fight or flight from lions or whatever that's chasing after you. But then our brains evolved into prefrontal cortex, and I've studied all of that. I'm sure a lot of you know about that too. That it became logic based. But then my theory is that our survival fight or flight drive moved into our psychology. So we have this fight or flight. If you notice, everybody in the world is out there doing something. This guy's in his truck next to me. I'm gonna go get this done. He's gonna survive doing something. Everybody's running towards something or away from something to survive in life. If you start to pay attention, it's amazing. And here I am. I'm gonna do this video. I'm doing this video with the guy in the truck next to me, and you just start to become aware of your own behavior in that way, and you see how we're all doing it, and it's just amazing. You look at the freeway when you're driving to work, and you see, hundreds of cars they're all going somewhere, doing something, running towards something, and then the people that are fucked up in their lives are running away from something, right? And I explained that all in the last video. So that's just an interesting, once you reach that observation, you just see life in a whole different way. But if you take it further, like I like to do, and sit and meditate and contemplate on it for hours, I started to think like, okay, what came before this first survival strategy that I had? What came before that? Maybe there was something more pure in me that, because it seems like you make compromises to survive, right? And what I found was like around 5 years old, if you think back to that time before you ever really were traumatized, unless you had a really bad childhood, but we all had some kind of trauma or some kind of fucking, thing that affected our behavior, changed our behavior in a way. We adapted to survive, trying to please, right? So if you go back and look, and for me, I found this at like 5 years old in kindergarten. I was very philosophical, I was very emotional, and I was very intuitive. Those three things stood out to me. And you think your parents are going to look at that and, look, honey, he's intuitive. Oh, great. He's going to do great. He's highly emotional. He's going to do great in life. Oh, my goodness. So it's just, if you're lucky enough to fall into one of those categories where most people do, which is being very good at academics, or at least good, or sports or business, those three categories are our cultures, at least in America. It's our culture's, those are the milestones we're all reaching for to survive and to do well. And so if you fall into those categories, a lot of people do, or a lot of people struggle in their own ways. It's not that other people don't struggle, but people like me and people that have addiction, issues with addiction, it becomes, people that have issues with addiction are more apt to have these different strengths and sensibilities that aren't the usual. So, look at the strengths and sensibilities I have, end up being good for songwriting, writing, philosophizing, and introspection and psychotherapy. Basically, philosophy is just psychology turned inward, right? A few years ago, I'm like, why do I like this psychology stuff so much? It's just I turned my philosophy interest inward, and I was always looking for the answers in the universe, and now I'm looking for the universe within. So going back and finding that strength, and I've always stayed true to it, but I didn't really understand it or see how much I was supposed to be behind it. So we all have these strengths. We all have, limitations, putting limitations on those strengths. Look at, even if you are good in sports, you're going to be competing. If you are good in academics, you're going to be competing. You're going to have, triumphs and failures, and you got to push yourself. But whatever you're strong at, whatever those strong suits are that you have, are what you need to get behind and to compromise the least. And from what I'm realizing now is there's always going to be that compromise, because you have to survive. You have to have a survival strategy to survive. But it's the balance you're going to find between your survival strategy and compromising that survival strategy for those, strengths that you have that are unique in this world. And so it doesn't just come down to survival. You can just be here to survive, but really we're here to evolve within our lifetimes. And it just gave me, this understanding for my meaning in life. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to make these fucking long, crazy videos about introspection and philosophical thinking, and write songs about it and write stories about it. And that's my thing. And it might not be the mainstream and might never be, but that's what I'm here to do. I can just feel it. I felt it since I was 5 years old. And whatever that strength is in you, and whatever that sensibility you have in you, I'm sure you sensed it back then before you came up with that first survival strategy and compromised yourself. And to go back and find that, that's what this understanding is for. And that's what I did to start producing this record. Before I really even produced it, I was just writing the songs. And from this understanding, I was going back and listening to all these old records that I loved when I was growing up. And the time when I was growing up in the 80s, radio, FM radio, top 40 FM radio, imagine turning on the radio and hearing Steely Dan, ZZ Top, The Cars, Blondie, just such an eclectic mix, and the Stones and the Beatles were all mixed in as if they were like, it just was incredible. I guess but they were still around, but they were on their like second careers at that point. And all the, singer-songwriters from the 60s and 70s. So all that stuff mixed together, and then mix in, I love Def Leppard and Boston and Kansas and all these great prog rock bands, the next generations of prog rock, combined with Yes, that was having a new wave of stuff coming out, and then loving the old stuff too. So Kansas was a huge influence on me. So all these records just totally rejuvenated me, re-inspired me, and that's what this new record's about. It's a tribute to those bands, all those different bands from the 60s, 70s, and 80s that it's all considered classic rock now, but man, was it fucking amazing. And to grow up with that, from Hendrix to the Stones to the Cars to what's the other, the Ramones, just it's the span of music that was on the radio from within one day was incredible. And now it's all, it's still great. There's a lot of great bands, and a lot of the great bands are still around, but it's all sectioned off, so where you just basically listen to what you like, and everybody's gone off into their corners. Somehow we made it cool back then. I don't know how we did it, but from Hendrix to Joplin to the Ramones to the Clash. Can you imagine? And just to grow up with that inspiration. So this new record's coming out, Broken Poets, Frontier Motel, 2/22/22. And I got a reason for that number. When I was 22 years old is when I quit drinking and doing drugs. I smoked weed for like 2 years habitually, and just sat in my apartment and started writing songs. But then at 24, I quit completely, and I haven't done anything since. So it's been 35 years now, and all to come into this, culmination of, understanding in myself, and years of, admitting I'm an idiot, years of admitting all these things to myself that are so uncool. I never fit with rock and roll, but I'm happy where I'm at. I have my own little corner of the universe that I'm working out my own evolution for, and hope you guys like it. I'm going to do the next video just specifically on, be a short video just on the record with the link, and yeah, man, subscribe if you like it, and make a comment. Anyway, enjoy.